And welcome once more to yet another episode of Kerbal Space Program and the the career mode playthrough. In the meantime, since last episode, I've grabbed another contract, which is a science from space around Kerbin, which, as we've sort of seen, are not especially difficult contracts. We are, however, going to be doing this. Oh, that's still up there. That's interesting. Munstar 4. Munstar 4, Kerbin Star 4. Get it right. So, yep. And this is basically a repeat of the previous mission. So on one of those, oh, there I am. This time, I'm going to learn from last time. I'm going to stick a battery on. Basically because the last probe died. Last probe died because it ran out of electrical power. I'm actually going to build this one slightly differently. I'm going to put two of these on here, which are going to be that way, like so. I'm then going to come in here with the solar panels. And I'll put two there, and 4 on there. Now I think this said it needed a goo unit as well, and I also want the thermometer. And the reason for the thermometer is for the science from space mission, which we can do at the same time, and then this thing's obviously elsewhere. That can now function as a relay because it's got those bits on board. It is going to get a fuel tank. It's going to get the same fuel tank as the last one, even though the last time it wasn't big enough. We're going to have a bigger launch stage on this one. Right, so that's the satellite. And if we just check its vacuum performance, 2,000 odd meters per second. That, yeah, it should be enough. It might not be, but it should be. So what we're going to do is put a decoupler there. I now have, wherever it is, utility payload. Here we are. We have one of these. So what I'm going to do is one of these, which is going to come out. You have to wait for the things to go green, then you can do them. So we're going to put that to there, and then that's going up. Now what that basically means is this thing will now, instead of trying to flip over every time it is flying, it should do a little bit better. Again, we're going to have an upper stage which consists of one of those, and I'm going to boost that slightly with one of them, so it's going to be like 1.5 of those stages. And that's the upper bit. I'm not putting fins on it this time because with that on it, it shouldn't need them. This is also going to get up a little bit higher than the previous ones did. So we have that. We're then going to have a lower stage, which is going to consist of 2 of those and an engine. And then what we're going to check is on here. We're going to go show all, and that'll get off the ground, but barely. Space performance is pretty good. Sea level performance isn't. It's going to need a bit more than that, I think, to get into space. So what we're going to do is go into here. I'm going to grab 2 of these ones because these look quite nice and I like that. We're going to do that. We're going to go to here. We're going to grab those. Going to go into that. I'm going to get myself another pair of these swivel engines because they're rather nice. We're going to go to aero. And now we have these nose cones, which look a little bit better. So I'm going to use those. They're slightly more aerodynamic. So that should work. And you're going to go from there to there. And do some more at the bottom because I want to make sure this thing is relatively stable in flight. And that engine and those are going to fire at the same time. So let's see what we've got now. What does it reckon we have? We have plenty more power. 1.7 thrust away off the pad, which is the important bit because that means we will get off the pad. Put a couple of those clamps in as well. So save that. Right, so there we are, a satellite launcher. So let's see if this one does any better than the previous one. It should do. However, this is me flying it, so yeah, don't hold your breath, I guess, is the thing I'm saying there. Here we go. Let's go to space. Now and again, this is going equatorial. Not equatorial, polar, so I need it to... do need it to tip over slightly that way. In theory, a little bit more over here because I've got to actually counter Kerbin's rotation as well, but I'm going to get up a bit higher. I'll probably do that when I'm actually in space. Without the fins, I don't have as much ability to say I don't want to go in the direction this thing's pointing. We are wobbling a little bit, but there we go. We shall see. This one again, I'm hoping I'm going to use it's sort of the performance it got to. I know what I didn't do. Naturally, I was going to wait for the inclination thing to be correct again, which I completely forgot. So we'll see how far off that is. About 90 degrees, so it's about as... Oh, right. The game does that sometimes. I don't know why. It seems to be a bit of a bug. You'll switch to a ship and every now and again you will be miles away from it and you'll look at it and you'll go, what? But there you are. Right, we can flip this over now and start burning very firmly in the correct direction because the orbit's going to go very, very high. We do want it to go a lot higher than that, it must be said. So what I'm going to do is stay here. And right, what do we need to get out to? About 3 million. So that needs to get up to about 3 million. And we'll then circularize, and then away we go. And then I'll have to get around and I'll have to rotate the orbit, and it's going to be a right mess, but we'll see. Something else I can do here is that. Don't have to do that, but now I'm out of the atmosphere I might as well. In fact, I might as well do that. Log temperature and transmit. And the reason for transmitting is that completes the contract. Go back to the map. Get the yeah, perhaps this up a little bit more. That actually, might as well just fly on that path for now. I'm going to get the thing up here. I'm just going to circularize it. It'll, why have I got no control? I should have control. Not moving. I do have control, just very, very little of it because... Yeah. Yes, I should have put a reaction wheel on it. This thing needs its needs its engine burning in order to do anything in particular. Let's just get ourselves into an orbit to start with, and I can work out what I'm doing from there. There we are, we're in orbit. We will go to space today, as the saying goes. Right, so the descending node of that is all the way up there. However, I do need... Yeah, I need to go through 120 odd degrees of rotation like that. Never mind. But before I waste a huge amount of time on this, let me just see if I'm actually going to be able to do it with this rocket. Should be able to. That doesn't be quite that much. Yeah, that'll do. Right. Oh, that's telling me is I'm going to burn this stage out and I'm going to see where we get to. Don't do that. But as you can see, that was 300 odd to go from there to all the way out here, so I've got 2,000 odd left. And famous last words, should be enough. Might not be, should be. Right. Do that. I'm going to go to there, and we're going to do that. Fire that engine and cut it. All the way around there like that. We're doing the battery. I forgot to make sure that was looking correct. And now we've got rid of that heavy fuel tank, we are a little bit more responsive. So basically I need to get this to match that purple orbit. So let's see what I can do. So that needs to get up to about 3 again. Drop that about there. Right. So what I now need to do, the next node I'm going to get to is the descending node. So this is where life gets a bit awkward. I now need to create... Well, I'll say in theory I need to create a manoeuvre. In practice I'm going to warp all the way around there. All these satellites we've now got in orbit as well means communication is not going to be a problem. Plenty of things we can talk to. All I need to do is tell that descending node to stay on screen. I need to find the descending node marker, which I believe is that one. And fire that, and as I fire that, follow this around. As I said before, these sort of inclination changes are hugely expensive in terms of fuel. I find myself hoping I've got enough to do it. I think I probably have, but we shall find out. No, I haven't. At this point in time, I want you to imagine a very, very, very rude word. Yes. Now, what that's just shown is if I'd actually got the inclination right off the pad, that would have worked. So, what we're going to do is... again, put it into a position... Well, it should actually be in a position there where it... For some reason it's not. Put it in a position where it'll pick up some sunlight. Pretty much regardless, that should do. we're going to get anything from the goo over here. Oh, we'll get a little bit. So I might as well do it. Materials bay. No, nothing. Not going to get anything from the materials bay. So, right, back to the Space Centre. Try again. This time I'm going to do it with the inclination correct. And then we're going to... Well, I'm going to do it with the inclination correct. Honest. Recover, recover. Right, any other contracts on here? I see these ones are... These contracts are ridiculous. That's useful if you can land the thing in one go. That makes it very, very difficult to do. Flag on Mun. Well, we're going to be going back to Mun anyway, so I'll grab that. Can't upgrade that yet. So what we're going to do is fly Kerbal Star 5. However, I'm just going to save it rather than going straight away because I want to get the inclination thing correct, as I just said and very nearly forgot about. Right, so what I need to do is to work out where on earth the Space Centre is. Right, the Space Centre's there. So we're actually... Okay, at the moment we're not that far off, so I'm going now. I'm going to head north with the thing. I am going to add some fins to it before we go. Purely because if I add a couple of fins to the thing, I have a little bit more control authority when I'm flying the thing. That'll do. Save that, launch, we're heading north. At this point. Right, I'm going to do the rest of this one in fast forward. It'll either work or I'll be crying. I'll see you in a minute. Now you can see the plane change is 116 instead of 800 and something. So that's basically what I've saved by launching in the correct direction in the first place. So yeah. So we're going to go around and we're going to do this burn, which will get the orbit roughly aligned, and then I can worry about making the orbit the right size. Do we see it's not a particularly large burn. Let's do bits of it now. There we are. Plane change 0. That'll do. So what's next? Next is getting the orbit. What you're going to do is come up here and turn off some of the satellites. Reason for that is I want to actually be able to see what on earth I'm doing. So what I now need to do is, you see the orbit isn't quite what it needs to be, is I need to get here, and then there I can expand that to be what it needs to be. And on previous performance I expect that may actually count as that's good enough, but we'll find out. Find out shortly. And then that's this mission done. More money gained and a little bit more experience. Again, largely in what not to do, but anyway, never mind. And with that orbital line disappearing, that means I now know I'm in the correct orientation for this. We will trigger the contract complete. There we are, we did that space around Kirby one and the satellite mission. There we are, done. Ta-da! Right, back to the Space Centre. So let's pick up the bits as usual. So you see, we've got a little bit more money there. A bit more science, not a vast amount more. Yes, anyway, so this one's next. Flyby Minmus, come home. The existing ship I've got will do it. I just need to make one slight adjustment. Slight adjustment, not that. I want... Munlander X. I'm not going to bother renaming it because this thing's going to come back and be scrapped. What I'm going to do is put one of those there. The reason for doing that, I now have somewhere for Jeb to put things, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is drop all but one of those into there. Reason being, I can now swap these around. So if I do that to that to that, it works. So Jeb will be able to do them, and I've got the other ones there if I want them. Right. Save. I could put an aero shell round that. Have I got the big aero shells? Aerodynamic? Was it under? Payload. No, I don't have the big 2-metre ones yet, so that's that. Right. Save. Minmus, here we come. The Minty Moon. Minmus is a slight inclination, so I'm going to get this thing into... Well, I'm going to go to sunrise again. Because it's much better in the sunlight. We can see what we're doing. I'm going to get this thing into orbit. And then we're going to have a little talk about how we get to Minmus. So I will see you in a moment. And here we are in Kerbal orbit. Now Minmus is this one, all the way out here. I can't remember what the launch angle for Minmus is. So what I'm going to do is experiment a little bit. Because we come all the way out here. That's mud, which I'm not that interested in getting near. Oh, look at that. Oh. Off. Right, okay, so that's going to give me a Minmus encounter. Now that's because I'm a little bit under. So what I need to do is possibly play around a little bit more. Bring that back. Again, trying to do gentle manoeuvring on these, and specifically trying to get gentle manoeuvring where you're touching the ones of them you want to touch. So, okay, that's going to get me an encounter. It's not going to be a very good encounter because I'm way under. However, what I can do is do a mid-course and play around with that. So that's what I'm going to do. And you see, that's going to take 900 odd meters per second to get there. It's going to leave me with over 1,000 in the tanks, and that actually gets me home again. So, yeah. So let's go around here for a 72-second burn, according to that. Slightly frustratingly, sometimes when this mission pops up, when you play these career playthroughs, what it pops up as is flyby Minmus on its own, just flyby Minmus, which is good. And you think, brilliant, I'll fly by Minmus. And while you're out there, you set yourself into quite a deep encounter if you can. And while you're out there flying by Minmus, you've scored that one, you jump back to the Space Centre, and if you're lucky, there'll be Orbit Minmus will be the next one. And of course, you've already got a ship out there, and you just go out there, break into orbit. Ta-da! I've done that one as well. And then you come home, and you've done 2 with 1 flight. Indeed, get the sequencing right with a ship like this that's got the capability. And the third one you may get is land on Minmus, and you can just do the whole lot in one mission, if you get lucky. So yeah. So, coming up on the burn for this. Hit that because that gives me some chance to throttle it down at the end. As I say, Minmus is slightly inclined, as you can see, so the ideal time to hit it is actually, this is why I've got the encounter, I'm actually, by pure chance, I'm actually about the point where it crosses the orbital path. Otherwise what you do is you have to get this out here and then mess around with slight plane changes. Yeah, but only slight plane changes, and then you're there. And as before, this slowly grows and then it starts to grow very, very rapidly towards the end. So as we get near Minmus, I will be throttling back a little bit, which is why I burnt slightly early there. If you use the mod, I think it's MechJeb, if you use that, you can just say, I want to go to Minmus, click the button, it'll plot the path for you and it'll fly it. It's just a different way of playing the game. The game turns into a rocket design game at that point rather than a can I fly these things. Personally, I quite enjoy flying them. So, I think I mentioned before, MechJeb is something I will use, but I will tend to use it for... I have done this mission half a dozen times. I'm getting bored with it now. There we are. And that gives me my Minmus encounter. It's not a brilliant one. We're not going to be there very long. But we don't need to be. We're only doing a flyby. So what we're going to do now is find the antenna that's on this thing. Extend that. We have a solar panel facing the sun, but I'm going to make sure I've got more than one. We don't have any other fancy missions out here, do we? So these rescue ones. Yeah, flag on Mun is... yeah, whatever. We'll do that at some point. And the easiest way of stopping the rotation when you get somewhere is dab one of the fast forward buttons, then drop it back. And we're now going to go all the way out to here. Long way out. And I'll put the satellites back on at this point because otherwise I'll forget. Now, the other thing you have to note with Minmus has a small sphere of influence. It's not the smallest. I think the smallest Gilly, which is Eve's moon, which is actually remarkably... It's not that it's hard to get to, but you've got to be very accurate in getting to it. So there we are. We have now done a Minmus flyby. So all of that, where is Minmus? Good question, actually. Where is Minmus? Around here somewhere. I mean, it's a moon. You can't miss it. Well, I say you can't miss it. I think I may prove you can. There's Kerbin. Anyway, Minmus is round here somewhere. I suspect. If I go right to the periapsis, go right as close as we're going to get. There we are. That's why. It is. There we are, Minmus. Whee, look at that. We got Minmus. So what I'm now going to do is let that disappear. I am going to just pause for a second while I do a screen grab, as usual. Right, now we're on our flyby. What I can now do is do some science. So, material study. See, this is going to give us a whole load of science. I'm going to have to get out to go and get it, though. This is the thing. And I'm not amazing on EVA stuff. However, we're going to try. So what we're going to do is turn all the lights on. That might help. We'll do a crew report, because why not while we're here. And what I'm then going to do is swap those two. And Jeb is going to go and do an EVA. Scary. EVA report is that. Perform EVA science. It says it can't be done right now. And the reason it can't be done right now is because I am grabbing hold of the thing. So I now need to let go, which is very scary. Rocket pack on. And there we go. Right. So I can do the EVA science. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but he's doing something. Ah! Playing with a wing nut. Look at that. Look at that. I get a lot of science for that. Anyway, I'm going to go forwards and I want to go down slightly because I've got to go and get this, which means I need to get close enough to get that. Collect data. You remove data. Right. So what I now need to do is go slightly like that. Slightly forwards. There we go. Like that. Forwards, like that, and down. Because I've got to get near these. And basically this is a case of just keep clicking on the things until collect data appears. Remove data, that one. Take data and monitor. Take data. Right. So the secret, as far as I've found with EVA and this sort of stuff, is very, 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 very small steps. You don't ever really want to be doing anything too drastic. Grab. There we are. Climb up here. Board. Hey! Done it! There's one of those rare occasions I have done an EVA without killing anybody. So, what I need to do is warp there. There we are. We're no longer near Minmus. So what we now have to do is work out. So the periapsis is, it's not quite where I want it to be. And this is the speed we're going at relative to Kerbin's surface currently. I don't want to think about that. Don't need retrograde because we need to break that slightly. What I need to do now is go home, basically. We have a ridiculous amount of power left. But like I say, the mission is I have to return to Kerbin, so I'm not going to get the other mission until I've done that. So what I now need to do is take that and that'll do. That's where we're going to. And what I'm now going to do is warp to about there. Sometimes you do need to be careful with this. It will overshoot on these auto warps sometimes. Not all the time, but I found like I'll click to that here, which I know is well above Kerbin's atmosphere, and by the time it drops you out of warp, you're in the atmosphere, and then you start thinking, oh, I'm not very happy now. We shall warp to there, and I'll do the rest of it from the normal screen. Now the thing to note here, we've still got the full spacecraft. I mean, this is bananas. This shows how overpowered this thing is actually for this sort of mission. What are we doing in terms of power? Yeah, got plenty of battery power. That's the thing. I do need to put a battery on this. But what we're going to do is we're going to ditch all of this shortly before we re-enter. It will all re-enter. It will all burn up. And with a bit of luck, we might even see a few fireworks. Well, that'd be nice. See a few fireworks. Yeah, this mission will be it for today. I'm just going to do this and land us. Ba-ding, 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 ba-ding. There we are. And on the parachutes as well, and that's it. And that mess should break up. There goes the bottom decoupler ring. You can start seeing bits of it glowing a little bit red. We are coming in extremely fast here. In fact, actually, an interesting one. I downgraded the ablator on the heat shield. I'm hoping there's enough. There we go. Explosions. That's the Science Junior blowing up to start with. That's one of the lowest heat tolerance pieces there. So that was the core of the lander gone. They're the engines and the fuel tanks blowing. So, yeah. Anyway, fast forward, catch you on the ground. And here we are back at the Space Centre. As you can see, gained 148 science off that flight. That's just a flyby mission. Jump on here, explore Kerbin. Dock 2 vessels on or around Kerbin. This isn't a huge earner, but it is well worth doing. We've got some rescue missions to do anyway, so I'm going to grab that as the next bits. We have somebody in orbit of the Mun. I hope he's got a lot of food, because we've got 10 years to go and grab him. I'm going to take that one as well. Not doing it just yet. What I'm going to do is recover all these bits. Because you have to recover all the bits, because otherwise they're in the way. We're going to have a little look at what we can do in terms of science in here. We've actually got the funds to unlock the next level. So you can start seeing what you can do here. This gives you proper solar panels. You start getting nice fold-out retractable ones. Precision engineering gives you a much better probe core, a long-range antenna, weather analysing, do other things, a bigger container, fuel cylinders, the mobile processing lab, which I mentioned is G's, extra crew pods, some proper landers like the one based on the LEM and so on and so forth, specialised control, which to be honest, I've never found a need for. I don't see what half of that stuff actually does. Advanced aero, don't need supersonic flight, don't need actuators. The claw is funny. Specialised construction, that's the big airstream shell for putting around big things, really. Advanced fuel systems is more fuel tanks, including some nice large ones. Precision propulsion, these are the really tiny engines. Heavier rocketry is even bigger engines. So yeah, that's what the Kodiak is. Yeah. For now I'm going to grab that one because that one's useful. And anyway, that's that. So we have now flown past Minmus. The next things we have is docking, which will be in another episode. I'm going to do some rescue flights and the docking flights. Rescue flights are probably going to do first because they are good practice at manoeuvring and detailed rendezvous. The docking flight, I'm going to have to launch a target vehicle because there's nothing up there I can dock to at the moment, and then a thing to go up and dock to it. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. As always, comments, subscriptions, yada yada yada, all welcome. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching.